that epiphany or the aha moment that you might not be aware of this, but there's a subconscious behavior that you have, and it's not serving you or the others around you. But I think with the right technology stack, you can really do some interesting stuff here.
Welcome to episode 43 of Tool Use, the weekly conversation about AI tools and strategies brought to you by Inetic. I'm Mike Bird, and today we're talking about how to use AI to be a better communicator. We're joined by Ian Pilon, an innovator who sits at the intersection of AI, human-centered design, and leadership. He organizes AI Agents Waterloo, and Ian's book Cultivating Clarity is a must-read for leaders and product innovators. Ian, welcome to Tool Use.
So happy to be here, Mike. Thank you. I'm pumped, and it was such a pleasure to have you at one of our events. I didn't get to talk to you much about the book, so maybe we can cover some ground on that. But yeah, for those that don't know me, I'm in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, an active builder playing around AI technology and just having a lot of fun. So yeah, thanks for having me, Mike.
Absolutely. Pleasure to have you here. And that was a great event. I really hope more people in the Waterloo region kind of start aggregating together rather than just all migrating down to Silicon Valley, because Waterloo's got the clout, but we need to make sure we get that homegrown talent going. Would you mind giving us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, so in the last decade, I've been into UX research and design. And then over the last couple years, moving really heavily on the product side around AI. But before that, logistics, which is kind of an interesting thing that's sort of resurfaced in my ability to see patterns related to using AI and flow design, especially around agentic systems, and thinking about the relationships of, supply chains. Funny enough, in some of the principles that I had in logistics before I got into technology, a lot of these ideas around what I started seeing in tech were practices I seen in logistics before I got into technology. So that's always been cool, because I guess Japanese philosophy. I used to work for a company that supported Toyota supply chain, and they all applied lean methodologies and used things like Kaizen and all these Japanese ideas around efficient systems design, right? Just-in-time logistics, all this stuff. When I ended up getting into technology, was surprisingly relevant or just familiar. Sorry, because I was like, oh, well, I've seen this over here in logistics. But then it's funny that some people in the tech side of the world, I guess in software tech, weren't familiar of where the origins of some of these ideas came from. So it was kind of cool. It was familiar to go from the physical world of logistics into software design and seeing a lot of similarities and trying to just have workflows that are products that are helping somebody achieve something somewhere in a supply chain. So I love the mental models that I took from logistics and sort of the systems of efficiency in that world and realized, in UX, if you understand the flow and what people are trying to do, it's very transferable into building actual products and services that people use versus not use. So yeah, UX has been a huge influence into then bridging into AI, the AI world now, and why I'm sort of obsessed about the customer relationship between the technology shift and users using tools or customers to getting jobs done. It's just a really fascinating intersection, right? It doesn't go away. The fact that we're tool use humans, and just happens to be the tools that we're creating are getting really, really powerful. So that excites me. And I go, well, how's that going to affect me? How's that going to affect the work I do, the people I work with, and then obviously my children? So I'm very particular about sort of trying to anticipate how this new thing might be used in the future and start to learn more about it. I love learning, so I go all in. And then if it's something currently like AI and agents, which is so new, like you're not going to learn about that in school or in college or university, because some of the stuff is just bleeding edge, right? You're not going to learn about memory and agentic flows. It's just not in the curriculum yet. Maybe for some real-time schooling stuff, but that's where throwing events is like, hey, who else is sort of at the bleeding edge of where things are going, like yourself? And then going, how are you using these things? What do what's your perspective on it? And that helps me just learn by osmosis.
Absolutely. And It's one common theme that keeps coming up where people with different types of backgrounds are kind of migrating to the AI world, bring those different experiences with them. Last week, we had on Michael Tiffany, and he brought up how the concept of a desktop, directories being folders and files on your desktop is just representation of how people used to work. But now you're getting people entering the workforce. And like you said, there's no historic knowledge of AI agents. This is a brand new thing. And they're bringing all these different mental models into it and being able to solve problems in unique ways. And everyone is starting to be able to be enabled with this technology and have their output amplified. That it's getting really exciting just seeing a whole new paradigm being formed rather than just the next gradual iteration. So one area that I'd love to hear some thoughts on from you are just the UX of current AI tools. The chatbot is everywhere. There's always a little empty text field that you go to in order to type and kind of create this engagement. But where do you see either the current state or the future projection of how humans are going to interact with AI?
Yeah, to answer the question about where do I think UX is going or where is it right now, I think we can't go without talking about the GPT moment. Like anybody who is a user that got onto ChatGPT and first had their interaction experience with LLMs, there's no question it was pivotal. And in doing that, for whatever somebody's experience was with that type of interaction, to me, my like aha moment was that I could finally use English to talk to a computer. I didn't have to know code, and that's been always sort of like this friction of me getting the output from machines that I've wanted. So in doing so, when I had my ChatGPT moment, it was really, I thought it was a revolutionary change. It was like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this forever. I can finally talk to a computer and have it talk back to me, and then even then really start to push it to go, well, how far can I go with this? Can I get it to build an app? And right away I was like trying to go, okay, well, I don't understand Python, but I understand some principles about what an application is, a recipe. So can I get it to do something basic, local on my machine? And then see if I could really be communicating with the computer, right? So now it was like, okay, can you build me something? Okay, so then fast forward into the UX paradigm of what I started using it with for myself personally first was, all right, I now have a translator real time that I can talk with a computer and get it to build something for me. I've always wanted that, and then it showed up. So in around that time, I was also super interested in thinking about, well, this is a massive shift in tool use because I don't have to learn sort of like Python. I mean, other people can, and this does not discredit or take away people that have learned the hard way. But for me, I never learned how to write or learn those languages, how to write them to talk to a computer. So now I had a translator. Basically, that's how I think about it. My perspective is that I have a translator. I can not only ask it to go communicate. I don't actually care what language it uses. I care about the outcome that I'm trying to get. So an example might be, I'm also into sound design or playing with music. So can I write a simple app that uses the microphone on my computer to pick up my acoustic environment and give me a visual output? And sure enough, you can one-shot these things. And I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. Because, that hello world feedback used to take forever, even when I was in web design, to build a web page. Just took a bit of work to get a hello world up. Now you're talking about like instantly, which is absolutely groundbreaking. So that excitement led me to going a little bit to think about right away the future. And to answer your question, where does UX go? Well, I had realized that if anybody can build instantly now, there's a whole world of how we used to work that gets that just changes. Because now, like, if you think that we're building in software often tools for other people, right away I'm like, well, people will just build the tools themselves. If you can speak English, I mean, you can now solve a lot of your own problems. Now, things are moving really fast, but I was kind of like, this might make my role in what I do change. So how do I stay relevant in the future if what I used to do is help inform engineers on why we're building tools? Everybody is on some journey. And in UX, what I used to do is understand where they fall in this journey. So the tools that we build are sometimes helping them solve tasks that are in the milliseconds, seconds, or minutes sort of time scale. I'm bored. I'm going to go on Twitter. I'm no longer bored, right? The job to be done there is very small. It's minute, but it is a thing. And if you don't fulfill it, they're going to do it doing something else. So that's where you can insert certain things like social media. But ultimately you go up to more complex products and services, you're getting into typically things where people are trying to get tasks done. Sometimes it can go from minutes to hours to days to weeks, basically a bit of a gradient here, but you're in a sense making zone. And this is where a lot of B2B plays are and stuff that it's like, no, I'm using this tool. It's helping me move forward on some project, and it's a much bigger thing that you need to do. And in this range, you often have complex systems, and there's a lot of engineering and product involved, and you end up building cool products and services. But this now hyper shrinks down, right? Because it just used to be, there was no other way to do it before. You had to hire a UX practitioner. They would do a bunch of research, and then they would come back and talk to engineers and build a prototype and then put it in front of people and then wait for feedback. And, that can take weeks. But nonetheless, the user's goals and needs don't change. We're all struggling to make progress towards goals, whatever those might be. They're just different for everybody, but we always have to take into consideration of the things that we're trying to build. Who is it serving? It's not for ourselves. Sometimes it can be, but I just happened to be doing this for a long time, so I got really good at understanding on going to do the discovery research to figure out what people are trying to do. Is it a short-term interaction experience? Well, then that's what I call in the book is low customer context. And in, thinking about how I was going to play in the future, I also have to think about like how people are interacting with tools. The human computer interaction paradigm is just evolving, just like language. So I think you mentioned the story about like the first stages of computers being, a mental model of, folders and trash cans. You worded it a bit differently, but it's basically like we gave users a mental model to get away from let's say the command line interface where, all of a sudden when somebody could look at a screen and have a visual metaphor that, oh, if I want to delete a file, I can drag it to a recycling bin. That was very powerful to introduce this technology to a whole world of new users that would have never been able to write some code to get it to do that. So that democratization is part of the interaction of how humans are using the tools. And now we're going to shift into the ability for people to speak plain language to solve some of their problems, which is interesting. We're all at the very cusp of this happening. But ultimately, I think this goes to where we're all striving to become other versions of ourselves, even if it's subconscious. So some people they're very forward looking and they do have goals and they know who they're trying to become. Other people, it's just subconscious. They actually don't know it, but regardless, they're going towards becoming something else, whether you're conscious about it or not. So if you can sort of think about the spectrum of humans moving through time, there's tools in that flow. And there's no question that software is just hyper embedded in everything we do now. You can't get out in the world without being in the middle of a software experience. So those are all like hyper micro interactions. You're on Twitter to, oh my God, I'm at work and I've got all kinds of products and tools that help me get my job done so that I can get paid. But at the end of the day, we're all striving to become some other version of ourselves. And so on that scale, I like to think about context as how I think about the potential change of experiences between humans and computers. And that's why I wrote the book, because I was like, well, I think I know what context is, but I actually want to dig a bit deeper. When that ChatGPT moment hit, I was realizing that it was a paradigm shift. All of a sudden, I seen an old world where there was all this work and activity into shaping somebody else's experience, and all of a sudden it gets democratized. And now a lot of that work is not needed. And you can just, not in all scenarios, but in some, you could just clearly see that, okay, there's not going to be a need for that. They can do it themselves. Um, so I'm excited about this idea that it's going to change, and do you want to participate in the change of how tools are used for humans? So you can sit on the sidelines and not do anything, or you can actively participate in trying to imagine and play. I think we're in an era of play. Same like sort of like the mother of all demos. Do you know that demo, the human
Yeah.
computer interaction demo back from whatever the 60s? And that was when like the first experience of the mouse was sort of portrayed to the world. Those ideas we're at that now, I think, with AI. So to be honest, I don't think there's a solid answer on like where do I think the UX is going. I just know, and you're right, chat was this first thing, but it's kind of wild. I started playing around with these ideas about like, okay, can I have generative UI respond to content? So now I'll take content and sort of like, hey, what does this look like as an animation? What does this look like as a slide deck? What is it? So I think you were going to get into almost a hyper personalized way that each of us wants to get the information back as a tool in the medium that we love. Like, so I love watching YouTube videos to learn stuff. Other people don't. They might love to just read and go deep on a white paper. Those two extreme differences in the media is huge. And if somebody has the option now to switch, a toggle, or even not even switch a toggle, talk to a system, and if it learns your preferences over time, it can start serving you the content, not only in a paper or a YouTube video, or generate a movie for you, put you in the movie, which is kind of really, really cool. So it's groundbreaking. Everything's changing in real time.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy how we're seeing this rapid evolution where now I interact with my computer mostly with voice. I'm always prompting with voice. I know that's not for everybody. I work from home. I don't have to worry about other coworkers, and it just allows me an increased bandwidth of input. And Carpathy actually came out with a tweet recently about how high bandwidth video consumption is and how you can really get more granular information. And kind of you're alluding to, some people prefer reading, but what if in that reading, instead of just static diagrams, you had an animation? And what if you could interact with it in bidirectional communication to ask it questions? The ability for us to really get a tailored experience to exactly the output, the outcome that we want, like you're alluding to, is just getting closer and closer. VO3 came out, and now all of a sudden you can make these incredibly realistic videos. As soon as that applies in like an almost instant dynamic way, we're really going to be able to learn and just accelerate our interaction so much faster.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to pull it back to, when we met, you told me this cool story about how a lot of the times you can make improvements based on certain metrics, but as soon as you get into a leadership role, what are those metrics? How do you make things better in a measurable way? Would you mind talking about that and just how you're able to work with communication in the leadership aspect?
So being a UX practitioner for so long, I had gotten really good at finding friction in process. And this happened way before I got into tech. In logistics, as I mentioned, I used to time, when we would move certain freight to a different lane. And if you would shave off even seconds on some of these workflows, you were saving a lot of money because it was all hyper connected to other things in the supply chain. Save a second here, 360 days a year. It means that this truck can get in here faster and get out there faster. It all adds up. So, thinking about that in the context of software was easy for me because I was like, okay, well, just this interaction point is where there's friction. What are some ideas that we can solve it? But I think I got really good at finding the friction. That's what I'm really good at. And then from there, you can have multiple perspectives on how to solve that problem, which is always good. Whether you're solo or on a team, you can say, do we all agree that this is the problem? And then you're set up for success to deliver a solution. When I got into managing people, then I had no way to measure my this idea about, well, can you lead high performers or a high performance team? All of a sudden, you're in this fuzzy land about what constitutes performance. Is that, you know, how many updates go out, uh, how many push updates are sent out. So it's this really tricky way of trying to describe even, well, you start to get into the ambiguous terms, right? So you're like, well, what does that mean? Um, Rather than the, an abandoned shopping cart experience is very measurable. We're not getting people to get out through the checkout experience in a software. It's very binary. In the human world, it's psychology, and you've got a lot of fuzzy logic in there. So when I was leading a team, I wasn't sure how it was performing. I was kind of like, I don't know. They won't tell me, right? So you have this power dynamic as well between manager and subordinate relationships, and I think we know this subconsciously, but it's not actively talked about. But I was curious. I love self development. I read a lot of books, and at that time, I was working on a project, and there was an executive coach from Vancouver who I expressed this to. I said, "Yeah, Daryl, man, like I've been leading this team for a year. I have no idea how I'm doing." And that was starting to really gnaw at me. It was kind of like, I don't know, right? And that was, as a fish out of water, an experience that I was not normally used to. And he said, "Well, you got to read this one book." It was called Multipliers. And he said, "You don't even have to read the whole book, Ian. Just read one chapter about accidental diminishing behavior." So I hadn't even finished this call. I was on this virtual call with him because he's in Vancouver. And I had already checked out the shopping cart in Amazon. The book was on the, hit buy. I love that I could do that. I was like, when somebody inspires you that you were like, man, this guy, I really trust his, really value his opinion. If somebody tells me like that you should read this, those are the books I read, right? I used to buy whatever interests me. Now it's like, if there's people that I really follow and I'm like, that person is somebody I admire, and they make a recommendation, it's like I will take it seriously. So I did, and I read it, because it showed up at my house the next day. I read it and I had my light bulb moment about trying to interpret this fuzzy logic, this uncertainty that I had around how do you know if you're a good leader? Well, what does that even mean? I had other books on leadership before, but this one was really good because it said, well, all of a sudden you could classify what a bad leader looks like, right? People that diminish others and they're not even aware they're doing it, and it's a subconscious thing. You don't always know that you're doing it. Plus, you have a lot of multiplying behaviors, and people don't know what those are. So you want to keep doing those and not doing the other things. So I had a couple of them that jumped out at me, like the idea guy, you know. So if you're leading a team and they're trying to share their ideas with you, and you're like, yeah, but I got this idea too, and it depends on the person you're leading or managing, but everybody's unique, right? Depending on the state of your career, you want more autonomy or less, or more agency or less. Some people need more help on the support side. Some people want, like, just leave me alone, get out of my way. And you have to figure that stuff out. So I was able to read the book, get the epiphanies, like, oh, I might be doing that. I might be doing this. Oh, these other ones, I definitely know I don't do that. So it was really cool. And then from there, this was also the time that ChatGPT had hit. So I was wondering about these new interaction paradigms, speaking of, how UX might change. And I started thinking about recording myself to try and see if it could catch these diminishing behaviors. Now, this is obviously a very sensitive area, and rightfully so. I'm super big on privacy by design. So I tried to mock up these ideas at home, working with local tools to see if it was possible to record a transcription. I have one with my daughters, and try to get the LLM to make inferences almost in real time on the communication between two parties to figure out if you could have enough context to detect a diminishing behavior in myself. So think of it like a mirror. That's what I was trying to build originally, was this mirror, and to see if I could catch diminishing behavior. So I had prototyped that, and I think I do have a post on LinkedIn and Twitter a while ago when I had it realized that, oh my God, LLMs can do this. Given the right context, they can do a lot of stuff. So I was like, well, wow, this is really, really cool. So I could just have this self-monitoring myself. And I remember also telling, I think my brother, I was like, because him as well as other people will know that if I go in your house and you have Amazon on, or like Google, you have these listening devices, I'm like, they're all listening, and I have nothing that is sharing that data back to me. So I say things like Amazon and Google know me better than I know myself. And I'm like, well, I want to build a private by design personal sidekick that can monitor myself, and then see if that could be useful, right? Could I do what the book did, which was give me that epiphany or the aha moment that you might not be aware of this, but there's a subconscious behavior that you have, and it's not serving you or the others around you. So as I mentioned, a bit of a sensitive area, but I think with the right technology stack, you can really do some interesting stuff here, right? Without going too deep into that, I mean, there is PII scrubbing tech that you can use, zero knowledge proofs, all kinds of weird things that people are doing to keep data private. Now, also because I was in UX for so long, I just got used to whenever I have a customer discovery call, I would ask, are you okay if I record this? And if they say no, I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm back to the old school scratching notes and trying to remember everything. But for most people, they were like, yeah, cool, as long as I tell them what the data is being used for, right?
Mm-hmm.
This data will not be used outside of this company, or so on and so forth. So that's what I'm doing with NeuroKick or the leadership development. Is if I'm not leading a team right now, but if I was, it'd be like, hey, I've got a sidekick or a coach, and it's a mirroring device. It's not, listening to you, but it can um, delete the data instantly. Do you want me to turn this on or off? Yes or no? Um, I'm trying to become a better leader managing you, and I don't know what I don't know. So does that answer your question? That's sort of the technology that I'm playing with right now, and having a lot of fun because it's forcing me to learn what the limitations are of using these new technologies, right? And it gives me a chance to play with them at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting approach because when we're just um, unconsciously having a conversation or just engaging in regular life, we're not always being analytical about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So having a device that's actually like being introspective and trying to analyze what you're doing does offer a lot of real insights. I'm curious about for the more active mindset. If you are putting together an email or some type of external communication, a lot of people will resort to using AI to either help with the blank page problem or kind of proofread to summarize. Have you found success using AI to help with your direct communications, or does it always end up being slop and you have to rewrite it anyways?
Well, that's a good question. I think there's two things in there. The blank page problem is just, that's a problem on its own. That's just beautiful that LLMs solve for you. It's like, and I think I get this from remix culture and music. It's always good to have something to jump off rather than starting with a blank slate. Inspiration doesn't always come to you instantly. So if you're in a creative role and somebody's like, okay, I need this design tomorrow, you may not be inspired. So that's when you're often then looking at other things to find inspiration in. So yeah, the jump off point for the blank start problem is absolutely huge. I think everybody's found utility in that. As far as using it to correct your writing, or not even correct it, help augment your writing. I used it instantly to write my book, and so I'm not a writer, and I was looking at hiring a ghostwriter. So in my book, Bob Mesta was one of the people I interviewed in my book, and what a gift to talk to Bob Mesta. And he told me he had hired a ghostwriter for one of his told me the price, and I'm like, yeah, that is just not in my wheelhouse. So I'm going to use AI, and I have no shames about it. I was like, I'm not a writer, but I will figure out. I do what I do is I went and grabbed all the story arcing frameworks and plots there are known to man, and then I'm like, okay, if I have 9 interviews, this is what was in my book. I want to get different perspectives, and we're talking about context in the framing of product uh, developing products and services. So I had a big Miro board, and I visualized the story arc of how I could put this into an overarching story. So that's where I used AIs at that time. I think it was Gemini. It wasn't ChatGPT, but I was like, okay, I've got these 9 different interviews, and how do I have an arc and a story that cohesively puts it together? And it's basically a sparring partner. Well, you could try in this, and you can come out with a framework where you can go at it so many different ways. So then I use it as a sparring partner, go back and forth until I landed on something that I was happy with. Not only with just AI, I watched a lot of videos on storytelling, um, and then from there, yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm going to come up with this crazy intro and this hook, and this is what I've got, and sparred with the AI back and forth. And then it's really back and forth. So, oh, what about this? No, I don't like this. And I fine tune it, right? Okay, cut this out. Don't like how it's sounding like that. And you could, at that time, it was so obvious when you could see, like AIs would use the word delve into something over and over and over, but by doing this, I was able to really find some of the common patterns that I was seeing in LLM while working with it, and then going, okay, as I keep going to write my book, if it was a ghostwriter, because even a human ghostwriter is not going to be your voice, right? It's like it's trying the best it can be to interpret the story in your voice, but it's still somebody else. So I just ran with that. I was like, okay, well, let me see what I can do. I mean, it took me 8 months, even with an AI. And I don't even know how long it takes with a human ghostwriter, but I had spent almost every evening going to the library and just having space to spar with this thing back and forth. And, I had my overarching map of where I think I wanted to go with the story, and then just brute force whittled it down. Like, okay, got to get this first section of the book to be the hook before it gets into the interviews, and then have the outro. Oh, and back to that map that I sort of had as a screen share up. Uh, that's I guess a visual way that I try to capture the essence of the book. And so although that's not writing, although by the time I was done the book, I was able to go, okay, put the book into an LLM and go, if you had to give me a summary of the book, what is its essence and things like that. So that's kind of cool. You never would have been able to do that before. Now I'm like sparring with the entire context of a book. And then that led to help me build a flow diagram that thinks about the end customer's experience and how context matters so much in shaping that.
I really like the visualization or just the concept of sparring with the AI, when you're
Mhm.
not just going back and forth to do a Q&A, but you're trying to get the critical thinking out of it, acknowledge blind spots, point out gaps. Have you ever used AI in either like a role-playing capacity or something to help you prepare for a difficult conversation where you're going to say, assume the role of X, which I have to deal with shortly, help me prepare for this?
Sort of. So today actually, and it's for a project that I can't disclose, but nonetheless, it's trying to yeah, it's trying to use synthetic, let's say, digital twins or profiles of roles, and trying to see if you can have conversations with these almost simulated versions of like you and I, or somebody who, like, let's say a podcaster. You and I both do podcasts. So I have a method of building psychographic profiles synthetically, and they're quite rich, very rich, actually. And then if I was to build a psychographic profile of a podcaster, in theory, you have a mini model, mental model, or a mini model of this role's somewhat of this role's identity. So I just threw it into Gemini this morning. It wasn't a podcaster, but it was a different role. And I did what you said. So I got it to play out a scenario because I'm actually rapid prototyping something before we get into a much larger flow of it. It's like, I just want to see how well it can role play with me if I gave it a body of context and I said, you need to role play as a teacher, and the person you're going to be talking to is this identity, let's just say podcaster, but that's a very rich description of what a podcaster is, not just surface level stuff. Back to the context map that I have where we say, what is a podcaster ultimately trying to become, right? So there's a bunch of psychology around why we all do what we do. And there's a bunch of stuff that you do, Mike, using your tools that you do, scheduling to get somebody set up to a call, all of these micro interactions that finally lead to you eventually publishing it. All of that wrapped up into a nice context model, and then spar or go back and forth with an LLM to say, okay, hold this in context. I got it to role play as a teacher. And I want you to assume you're talking to me, a podcaster. I am, but in this scenario that I did this morning, it wasn't a podcaster. And I'm like, okay, let's see if it had, it can answer a question that I had. And then I had the actual contextual profile, psychological profile of this role and a very specific thing about this role. And then I asked the LLM a question to see if it could find the needle in the haystack, which is like, hey, what are my interests in this? And it should go through that context that we gave it. Now, before it, they never could do this. They're all doing it now. And it got really good. It was like, boom, 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 boom. And it caught exactly what I was looking for. I'm like, okay, so I could actually just spar with it in a chat cycle right now, and it would work probably really, really well.
One thing I'd kind of like to just pivot to slightly is the idea of your contextual intelligence they cover in the book. Have you found there's been an influence on the way you use AI based on that?
Yeah, I think it's all I think about. Well, you can't get away with it once you see Jeff Jonas. Jeff Jonas was doing this back in the day, in the way in just in the machine learning days before large language models. He has a great video of it. Maybe I'll share a link with you later that you can share with people. And Jeff Jonas was where I really latched onto the initial idea of how powerful it is. He has a YouTube video where, but because he's so good at analogies too, he's like, look, I have this puzzle and I lay it out on the table at my house, and he's got a bunch of students that are working as a team to put the puzzle together, and they don't know that I've actually he bought two puzzles. He doesn't tell them this, but he puts duplicates in there, and he does some other crazy tricks to see how these people respond to having duplicate information. So he solved the entity resolution problem way back. He was a chief scientist at IBM before developing his own venture. But he had described in one of his videos that puzzle metaphor, he says, well, in machine learning, we started doing that, and we realized when we're trying to catch bad guys that bad actors, or in large data sets, big data, there was a problem in computing with entity resolution, and it's called the entity resolution problem. A computer cannot distinguish between some of these things, so he started building models for them to understand context around entities so that it can resolve these issues. So if there's two Mike Birds in the system, is there a junior and a senior? Sometimes fathers name their sons the exact same name, but their postal code's different, or their phone number is a bit different. Is that because you accidentally put in the wrong number, or is it because literally there's a senior and a junior and it's just not explicitly described in the data? So this wreaks havoc on big data systems. But anyways, he ended up developing models to give these machine learning algorithms the ability to start to form contextual nuance around these entity resolution problems, and then learned that the more context you could give these systems, they actually computationally can get faster the more context they give them, because they're anyway. So So in this video, he shows that as a very human story. It's beautiful because it's just a bunch of people putting a puzzle piece together. And then, it's intuitive for us to think that most people start with a boundary space around a puzzle and you build and you work your way in. And when you're doing that, when you start, you're really slow because you're just putting the puzzle together. And then as you get more space coming in on the puzzle, you get faster to do the middle part of the puzzle than when you started. So that's a really cool phenomenon when you're like, okay, everything's going to be slow at the beginning. It has no context. But as soon as you give it some, the next rep or the next cycle of trying to understand what that next piece is a little bit faster. So it's just really beautiful pattern that, the more context I have about something, the more understanding I have. And it's really what the essence is. You understand it more. And then it happens to be useful in computers because you can increase the speed of which you need to go learn something. I knew this before ChatGPT, actually. But I didn't get too far down on the computational side. I knew as a UX practitioner that when I was solving problems, I just needed to get more context so that I could take that back to a team or an executive. The reason why we need to look here or do this or do that is because of this. I was the context getter. Like I was like, go out and figure out why we're doing what we're doing, where people are struggling. So I just made my job better. I was like, if I have all the rich context, it's not biased either. That helps settle a lot of problems internally at companies. Is just go get observational data and bring it back and say, look, this isn't me. This is the user or customer. Boom. You're not fighting anymore. So fast forward into then LLMs. I just knew I used that pattern in my work. And I was like, okay, well, right away, sparring with AIs, I would give it large context. And then I start to realize they struggled because I'm trying to write a book. And I'm like, okay, here, I would do everything on my own first, right? I'd have mega long documents, and then I would try to get it to help me make it sound better. And it would really struggle. It would start to miss stuff. And I was like, okay, well, these things are limited. And I realized, I started doing research on that back in, the very early versions. They struggled with large context. So I had to work within that constraint. But once I knew it, I was fine. I was like, oh, it can't take 6 of my Word files. It can only take 1. If I give it 6, it misses page 2, 3, 4, and it just gives me 1 and 6, which was a funny pattern because I seen it in UX design as well. And it's called the peak end rule or peak and end rule. And we know that when you're designing experiences, we humans have a memory to recall things that are more of a peak or an exciting moment of an experience or the ending of it. They knew this in doctors' offices when they were trying to figure out how to improve the patient experience. You could have a long-ass surgery, but the memory of the interaction points of that whole experience is whatever was painful and an exciting moment, and then the very end. So, anyways, it's a funny phenomenon that this is in humans as well. You don't remember everything. You're not you can't. Right? You're not supposed to. It's not efficient. So, but you do want to remember things that either helping you not get killed and things like that, become a better version of yourself, whatever. So I had applied context now into writing the book, right, with my sparring and understanding the limitations of AI and starting to go, okay, where does this thing start to struggle and where does it not? How much context can I give it? How much can I not give it? And then I started figuring out, well, I struggled with that actually quite a bit until I had tried to hire an AI engineer from Toronto, Amjad, he's in the book as well. And I told him, I said, look, man, I just want to give this thing all my documents and help me write, and he's like, yeah, you can't do that. He's like, it just can't. So what you need to do is chunk it. I'm like, chunk it? What the hell is that? He's like, oh yeah, well, this is how you deal with the context problem. And so he gave me tricks right away to start using to reason better with these or spar better with them. Was like, I really started to feel the edges of what was possible back. This was over a year and a half ago, I think. So So I think that answers your question. So I was like realizing that I used to use these, the power of what context could do in my UX practitioner role. And then you just hit that now when I was trying to reason with AIs, I was like, they won't take the entire puzzle even if I give it to them. And then I had to get into chunking and figuring out even there, you start to hit a problem where it chunked, but the way that it went from one chunk to the next, it sometimes, well, no, there's ways around this before, but um, it'll lose continuity between page one and page two. And I was like, how do I deal with that? So yeah, just I guess just playing around with them and then understanding context from my old work led into how I would find the boundary of or the constraints of working with them.
Yeah, and I think it's a very important practice for everyone to continually do where they're pushing the boundaries, trying to
Mhm.
see what the limitations are because it changes all the time. Every model has different limitations. And the only way you can really understand what the state is at this current moment is by doing it yourself. Last question for me. A lot of this has been interacting, like communicating with the computer or having the program interact with the user, but it's very important to maintain human to human communication,
Mhm.
especially when we're all like locked away in our offices doing our own thing. So, as someone who's organized AI Agents Waterloo, which I love as a group, do you have any advice for people to bring community together, organize events, even things like co-working spaces to help promote interperson communication? Any
Mhm.
ideas to help make sure that we keep the human aspect in this industry?
I love that because I think if anything, I know there's a lot of fear around AI right now, but I actually believe it's going to reverse what mobile and social systems did, and actually help us go be more human again. But for tips around people that want more of that experience, yeah, is well, find a builders club if you don't have one around you. Start a meetup group or run an event somewhere. And I used to do that before my agents of group. I ran IoT Waterloo, and I would just go find um, any space that had a bar or whatever, and I would say, "Hey, I will bring people. We just need this section of the meeting room. If they had an area, right? I'd find a space that had a conference room or something, and I'd be like, look, I'll bring in 50 people, 20 people, and we're just going to talk about this evolving technology. At that time, it was about networked objects, and you make money on the bar. So my feedback to anybody who wants more human to human interaction is go do it, because waiting for somebody else to do it, then you'll be waiting forever. So if it doesn't already exist in your town or wherever you're from, go do it. If that's the thing that you really want and it's not there, then make it happen. And even if it's 5 people or 10 people, I think you just change the format. So when you came and talked at our event, it it was amazing. Um, a different structure, right? Different vibe. People are there for different reasons. But this guy Dev, who's part of the barn here, ran a very different format, and he had I think 10 people, but it was whiteboarding and just everybody talking about the agentic systems they're building, where they're struggling, what's working, what isn't, and that was a really great interactive experience. That so much so I can't wait till he does his next one. He calls his AI agents builders, I think. Mine was very casual because I'm just doing what I did back in the when I ran AI, IoT Waterloo. I was like, well, who out around me is doing this? And then I just want to be around them and talk to them and hear stories, right? It's very high level, but he's right into the weeds. So he's like, let's whiteboard. How are you addressing the problem? Does anybody else in here have a solution to that? Really, really cool. And he does live stream data stuff. So he's trying to figure out how their organization plays in the future with live stream data, right? So that's a great way for people just to be participants in uh, this cycle, because it's all real time. Everybody's learning this real time, right? What a better time! There's no better time to get out there and just participate. Either attend events that are actively sharing and distributing the information, and if that's not happening, then start one your own. It's never been easier, right? You get on Luma and you just go, I'm going to create an event, and don't sweat it if it's like only 5 people show up to, because those are the people you want to talk to anyways. You're like, right? Whiteboard,
Exactly. And
whiteboard, exactly. Yeah.
whiteboard, talk about a topic. Only other
Yeah.
group I'd shout out is AI Tinkerers. I love their events. They kind of say no investors, no business, no suits, just people that make demos.
Yeah.
So
And
it's a lot of fun.
that's a great play if that's your play. Like I love investors. I love lots of different perspectives. So and I think that's the beauty of having these things because they end up becoming their own little unique tribes. And if that's your shtick, which is like no VC, no, that's cool. But I think just naturally for me, when I ran IoT Waterloo, I had a lot of business people that were involved. It wasn't just tech. So I try to find, at least just for mine, the balance of like, you know, it's high level, and then storytelling can sort of help a business person see how that might affect their business model because things are changing, or if it's a tech person.
Ian, this was a blast. Before we let you go, is there anything you want the audience to know?
So I guess the one thing I'm trying to get better at is self-promotion. I don't typically do this at all, but it's one of the things that I need to get better on. But the book is not so much the thing I want to push. The product I'm building, or service, product and service, is trying to figure out if there is a demand for people who want to become leaders. So we are about 3 weeks away from a closed beta release. And if anybody's interested, that is an audience member of your show, wants to learn how to measure if they are becoming a better version of themselves, or what it actually means to become a leader, and they were struggling like I was, which is like I don't even know. We've developed a way to use to measure qualitative data. It's like a mirror, and it's private by design. We're looking for beta customers to sort of like just kick it around and try and learn if it's useful, or if it's just something I'm going to use myself. I don't know. So I think it has value, but if I won't know. So if anybody in your audience is interested in, that's something I'd be open to an introduction or a conversation and let them try it out.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll put all the information down below. Ian, this was a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike.